All right, we
Now I
are
see it.
recording.
Okay, so take two.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. I'm Stacie Watson, and my business partner Alicia Davis is here as well. She's actually hosting the screen, so we are not in the same location we had planned to be. But for anyone that's not in the Northeast, we're having a nor'easter today, which means that it's March, so we're getting a big snowstorm. So that's what we're doing. So we're sitting hunkered in our own little homes and using technology to do this. So we are super excited to share with you guys the results of a survey that I think many of you actually may have taken for us and with us. We had a great participation rate on the survey. We'll talk more about the numbers in a minute, but you know, it's exciting to get to share this information with you. And Alicia and I have spent a lot of time over the last couple of months really trying to understand the data and then really try to think about what it maybe really means to people in real life. So we're going to share a little bit of those thoughts back with you. So Alicia, any opening thoughts you have about this?
Absolutely. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being here, for taking your time, both on completing the survey as well as coming today. We want this to be very interactive. This is our premiere launch of a webinar. So we may have a little glitches here and there, but Stacie and I generally flow pretty well. So hopefully it'll all be great. And so I think that I muted people, but I'm trying to figure out how to see everyone on the screen and whether I can mute or unmute. Because what I was going to suggest is, mute yourself and then unmute if you want to say something, and raise your hand or jump in. And so we just want to make sure that interactive, we're answering your questions. And just to reinforce, we are recording this. So just keep that in mind. All right. So why the survey? So why the survey is, this was actually something that I had started with a colleague of mine a while ago, Brenda, from Innovation, and she was supposed to be on the call today, but she's not. So we had started this, and then when Stacie and I partnered, I said, we both had very similar interests and backgrounds around working with women leaders, and so we really wanted to take a pulse of what was happening for the women in our circles. So we sent this survey out to the women in our network, in my network, so primarily a lot of social services, a lot of entrepreneurs, to Stacie's network, a lot of corporate, a lot of business. And so we wanted to hear the voices of the women in our network. And of course, with all that's happening in the world, with Me Too, with Oprah, with everything that's going on, we know that women are talking about their experiences and even the difficult ones. I was just actually listening to Oprah interview Reese Witherspoon yesterday, and so this is the time to really bring us together and to really help support all of us in sharing our stories, getting support, and figuring out what we need to support each other and move forward as leaders. And so we didn't really have any idea what to expect. We had some assumptions, but we really wanted to validate those. So would it matter what industry women were in? Would it matter what role and position that they were in? And
Hmm.
and
So,
and
yeah. And yes. And what did we hope to learn? Alicia loves her ands, and
I love
usually I'm right
ants.
there with the other part of it, and I was caught flat-footed there. So anyway, so the reality was that we really wanted to figure out, first of all, are women expressing any kind of a need in terms of support in what they need in order to feel their best selves? And so we didn't know, and we thought the survey would sort of help us know that. And if there is a need, then the next question that we had was, is that need being met? And if it's not being met, then why not? Is it because of time? Is it because of resource? you know, is it an issue where women have a hard time prioritizing ourselves because, you know, we prioritize so many other things around us, whether that be our team at work, our family at home, you know, whatever it may be, I think we often fall to the bottom. So then kind of in keeping with this thought process, if there was a need and if we did feel like that those needs weren't being met, then might there be a new way to try to provide some support to women that could be a little bit of a different experience? And the questions that we had, and which we still don't know the answers to, but we hope we do, you know, would women be willing to do something just for themselves? And I think, would they be willing to share their own issues and realities with other women, kind of creating a new community? What's been super interesting to me as I've been on this journey these last few months is just how often you talk to women, and women have a reputation of being the social ones. Often in our families, we may be the ones that are driving the social calendar and making sure that people are getting from place to place. But when it comes down to our own support system and the people we surround ourselves with that really, quote unquote, have our back, sometimes that doesn't really get nurtured or developed because we're so busy focusing on all these other priorities that we have. So these were some of the questions we had going into the survey exercise. And then as we tried to think about the so what from the information out of the survey, this was sort of driving it.
Yeah, and so what we wanted to just share with you, first off, was the actual demographics. So just so that you could get an idea of who responded, and then we'll share more about what they responded. And so we, between my network and Stacie's network, we had 71 respondents, which we thought was phenomenal. And it really spanned across industries. So again, healthcare, both corporate and also social services. You know, a lot of the folks on my list are in holistic healthcare, entrepreneurial, insurance, education, financial services, as well as industrial and manufacturing. And we were very intentional. We were really hoping that we would get a cross segment, and we did.
Yeah, and when we looked at the kinds of organizations, there was diversity there as well. So more than a third of our respondents actually own their own business, which I think is super interesting. And then, of course, we had folks that sort of self-identified themselves as either corporate or nonprofit. And I just want to be sensitive to the fact that I know we have at least one retiree on our call. And so, you know, our thought was that we wanted to get the spectrum in our responses here.
Absolutely. And so who participated? And again, just that to really get that idea for us. So we talked about role, position, and title. So we had 26% at the director level, 24% at the owner and C-suite, 14 at the manager level, 10 that was a therapist, a coach, 8 at the VP, 4 at the consultant, 4 in human resources, and 3 who were owners or partners. And so what we really gleaned from that was that most of the women who answered our survey were well along in their career. So they weren't new to what they were doing in their work. They were you know, they were looking, you know, where they're at, where they're going, what's next for them. And you know, as Stacie said, also even at the retiring level, transitioning into retirement or considering that. And so it's really that kind of full spectrum that we saw. And so then the question is, well, what did we learn? And hopefully we can enlighten you with what that was, what we learned.
Yeah,
so Stacie, what did we learn?
Well, so for those of you that did complete the survey, and again, thanks so much. The first question of the survey was actually a question where we asked women to list up to 3 issues that they felt impacted them. And we didn't really lead the witness on that. We really left it pretty wide open. And we were super curious about what we would hear. Some of the other questions, you know, we had topics around the questions and they were scaling questions, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But this was really the voice of the participant back to us. And so out of the 180 responses that came to question 1 from the 71 participants, it was very interesting. We literally took each one of those and put them into an Excel spreadsheet. And as you can imagine, they did sort of bucket themselves into themes. Now, we took some, artistic liberties, I guess, in trying to put them in buckets. And some of them maybe could have been in one bucket or the other. But I think we tried to be very true to the language that was in the response. And what I found very interesting in the data, maybe the most interesting thing, was that of the 180 responses, 33% of those responses had to do with the topic of confidence. And Alicia's going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the next slide. But having sort of just made the statement that these are participants who are well into their career for the most part, I just thought that was super interesting that confidence would be sort of at the top for them. And then some of the other things I think we might expect, in fact, as I just sort of polled my friends or conversations, over a happy hour cocktail or at the beauty parlor, everyone thought balance would be the top item. And it is the thing that gets a lot of airplay, I think, this idea of balance. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We kind of lumped together topics related to recognition and equality because the responses felt like they flowed together. This had a lot to do with, am I recognized for what I contribute and am I being paid equally? And of course, there's a lot of conversation going on about that right now. 10% of the responses had to do with either increasing my business knowledge, like I would say professional development, or increasing my leadership skills. So they were very specific around wanting to improve something about my kind of professional performance. 5% talked about this desire to be able to feel more connected into a community of women. And then 5% were really more about taking care of myself. And again, that could kind of fit into many of these other buckets, but they were so specific in their words, we sort of spiked them out. So these were the themes, and really all 180-ish responses we kind of slotted into one of these places. So it was nice that it sort of rolled up that way because it felt a little more manageable as we started to think about it.
Well, and I'm just going to do the shout out for this is the Stacie geekdom right here, because she was amazing at culling through all of those written responses and organizing them. And so you rock, Stace. And that the issues didn't really seem to correlate to any role or position, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. It was super interesting that no matter whether the person was in the C-suite or a manager, that there didn't seem to be any correlation to the kind of issue they cited. So, I mean, the potential, item of concern around that is that there are a lot of people that are thinking about confidence. The good news about that is there are a lot of us in that same boat, right? I mean, there's comfort in numbers in some ways. So I think we don't have to feel like it's just us that isn't sure, because it would seem a lot of our peers aren't sure either sometimes. So.
Right. So we just, again, really, we wanted to hear the language. We wanted to hear the words. We wanted to really validate and really understand in depth what women were thinking and feeling. And so and we just tried to be a little creative with this, but this is actually, so we took all of the words from the confidence bucket, and these were some of the excerpts that we took from that. So just so that you hear the language. So being true to myself, being fearful of failure. How do I become a more confident and spontaneous speaker? Being seen as a leader, being seen as an equal colleague among male leaders. How to be assertive without being considered bitchy, uninvited physical contact, being too nice, lack of confidence in myself to be a great leader. So these were, again, not surprising, and really some of them, just really caught our attention.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So the little image in the middle, Alicia, if you don't mind, just
you want me to go back?
is, it's called Cloud Art or Wordle. Most of you have seen it before, but the way that works is you take all of the words associated with whatever it is you're doing, and it sort of creates an image, and the size of the word reflects the frequency of the word, right? So if you notice that the largest word in here is the word male, right? And this was a survey to women about their experience. So I don't necessarily, I'm not trying to make a conclusion about that, but it is an interesting observation. So yeah, I just found that to be interesting. But the words really are pretty cool to read them.
Yeah. So Stacie, you want to talk through some other facts from our survey? So these were the rest of our questions.
Yeah, so the other questions were scaling questions, and because we're learning as we go, we set up the scale 1 to 5, 1 being not satisfied, 5 being highly satisfied, and we did not name numbers 2, 3, and 4. So obviously, if you took the survey and on work-life balance, you picked number 3, we don't really know whether that means you're slightly feeling more satisfied or less satisfied, because it's right in the middle. And so if I were doing it again, I would probably structure the question slightly differently. But what we did was we decided to focus on the 5s, meaning highly satisfied, because that would be great, right? Not a lot of need there. And then we decided to look at the combination of picking 1, 2, or 3, with the assumption that if I'm selecting 1, 2, or 3, that likely means that there's at least some room for this to feel better to me, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm, racked with pain about it, but it does mean that I am, not as satisfied as I could be. So of course, the first one here, work-life balance, taking time for yourself. 10% of our respondents said they were completely satisfied with that, which I find amazing and fabulous. I think this is something I aspire to, and we have this idea that there's this perfect balance and that other people have it and we don't. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end. But anyway, of our respondents, 68% selected 3 or lower. So there's definitely opportunity here for folks to feel better about the way they think about balance and the way they experience balance. But that's what the data showed us. And interestingly, this next one, the numbers came out exactly the same. I did it 3 times to make sure that was true, but it was. So this one was really interesting, this idea of acting assertive, meaning feeling strong and powerful without being perceived as being aggressive or bitchy, right? So I think anyone who has walked, any kind of corporate hallway or business hallway or worked with other people where there are men and women in the mix may have experienced this feeling either yourself or heard people talking about other women and sort of making observations about where they are on that spectrum. And again, 10% of the respondents said they felt completely satisfied with their ability to kind of walk that line in a way they feel good about. 68% selected 3 or lower. There's, I think, just a handful of more questions, so we'll just touch on them briefly. A question about community, and we sort of made this somewhat broad, so this would include mentorship or peer support, but we really wanted to get under the covers. How connected do you feel to other women leaders? And this one was really, I think, very reflective to the conversations I've had both professionally with clients and then personally just with friends and colleagues. Only 4% indicate complete satisfaction here. I think there's a lot of opportunity for all of us to feel more connected in community. And 69% of you seem to agree because you selected 3 or lower. So, and then the question, effectively advocating for yourself, having a strong voice. Again, 4% here saying that they were completely satisfied with their ability to advocate for themselves. 55%, so a little bit lower, but 55% here felt that there's still opportunity there to feel more satisfaction in this. And I think this is a tough one. I don't think this is unique to women, but I do think women experience this. I've heard this a lot.
Absolutely. So just 3 more we have, Stace.
Yeah, just quickly. So The next one had to do with feeling respect and or credibility from others. And this one, felt like people maybe feel a bit more aligned around this. 10% indicated complete satisfaction, and only 43% selected 3 or lower. So at least for our respondents, a fair number of you seem to feel like you are receiving respect and credibility, which I think is super important in whatever you're doing. This one was an interesting one, especially given our population. This had to do with the confidence you have in pursuing your next level of responsibility or career advancement. Only 4% rated this a 5, meaning they were highly satisfied, and 65% indicated, picked a 3 or lower. So I'm curious about that. And as we have conversation at the end, I don't know if this will come up, but I'm interested to learn more about that from individuals, because I'm curious if they, if the women know what they want to do and aren't sure how to get there, or if there's a question about even what that next step is. And so kind of interesting there. And then the last one, the sliding scales questions, had to do with feeling that what you do professionally aligns with your core values and what most fulfills you. And I have to say, I was so happy to see 35% of our respondents said 5, complete satisfaction, which I just think is amazing. It doesn't mean there aren't opportunities to address balance and confidence and all of that, but it's so important to feel like what you're doing professionally is in alignment with what's important to you and what your core needs are. So I just think that was a great response to see. And only 44% selected 4 or lower. So certainly opportunity there, but that one we felt good about that one. So.
Yeah, awesome. And so I actually just want to open it up, pause right now, and just open it up for any Q&A. So anybody have any thoughts or questions about it? So Deb, what do you got?
Yeah, well, just to step back a minute, wanted to ask what your definition is of people who are in leadership roles.
Oh, great question. Great question. Yeah.
Okay.
And so actually Stacie and I have kind of gone back and forth with that. We, in our coach training, we learned that a leader is anyone in any role, and it's how you really, inspire and motivate yourself and other people. And so, we actually just kept it really broad. In that sense, we did not pigeonhole or categorize at all. We really wanted women to self-select, if you will. Mm-hmm. So that's how we viewed it.
Yeah, okay. It's funny. I was saying this to Alicia this morning, that I was at my hairdresser and talking about doing this webinar, and she said, well, I didn't fill out the survey because I felt like you weren't, wanting my input. You were looking for women who work in a company or what have you. And this is a woman who co-owns a business with something like 15 people that are, employees of some kind. She's been a business owner for 50. Like I said, yes, you are exactly the kind of person that we would love to hear from. So I said to Alicia, I think it's important for us in our comments today and as we go forward to make that super clear, because people do make assumptions. So I really appreciate that question. We absolutely feel like, we talk to our kids about being leaders, right?
That's right.
So it's, you're never too young or old or overemployed or underemployed to be a leader, right?
Right. And it's also, crossing over from that personal and professional. Wherever you go, there you are, right? So, some of these questions were specifically around career and some of them were not. And so, we're a leader in our families, we're a leader in our communities, we're leaders everywhere. And so it really is that kind of broad definition.
Okay.
Thanks, Deb. That's awesome. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? Just raise a hand. Oh, wait, Connie, there you go.
Hi. Yeah, this is Connie. So I think with that little tidbit that you just gave us, that makes me then go back to the initial thought of confidence and kind of question that, because I thought, like Stacie did when she pointed out ooh, if these are leaders and they don't have confidence, boy, we need to dig into that, right? But if you think about it, is if your definition of leadership is very broad, then I'm not so, I don't know, concerned about the fact that the people that responded to the survey picked confidence as the major issue that they had.
Yeah,
Say
that's
more,
a
say more, Connie. I'm just, are you thinking because the confidence issue might be related to some other facet of their life?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that. And I think that sometimes as leaders of people, so in a position where you're a director or in the C-suite and you have individuals that report up to you, you know, when I saw confidence, I thought, ooh, if those people don't have the confidence, boy, that worries me, I guess.
well.
In my, just from my personal perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
So,
I would say, and I know Alicia, you have a comment here too. I would say what we saw in the survey, because we could sort of we could look at an individual survey from the role they selected to what
yeah.
they wrote in question one, and I would say there are people who are leading companies, whether their own or other organizations, who are experiencing questions or concerns about confidence. I
Okay.
don't necessarily think that makes them any less of a leader. It probably
No.
just makes them honest, because I think if you were to ask, I know I'm working with the man right now who is in the C-suite for an organization and came to me because of confidence, right? So
Mhm.
like this imposter syndrome, like if they really knew me, I might not have this job, right? Or if they really
Right.
knew me, they might rethink the decision about asking me to take on this role. But go ahead, Alicia.
No, I was just going to say something similar, and I so appreciate that perspective, Connie. And if we go back to the slides, I mean, these were self-selected. So again, most of our women were in some kind of a leadership role where they did have people. They were vice presidents, they were directors. So we're going to assume that they have teams. And so our
Mhm.
highest percentage of leaders also, so that correlates to that confidence statistic.
And then I think the other comment that I would like to make is to the second bullet that's on the page that is showing now, confidence in pursuing your next level of responsibility and career advancement. I think that sometimes, and this is just from a corporate perspective because that was my most recent experience, I think sometimes as if you're in a leadership role or even if you're in a front line role, sometimes people are waiting for others to identify them as, I think you would be perfect for this role. You're doing a great job in the role that you have now, but what would you think about, taking on this role? So I think sometimes, and maybe this is just me personally, and I spent a lot of time in leadership within operations, and, operations can be very hard to do for a long time. And I think I was always waiting for somebody to see something in me and approach me and say, I think you could be X. And I would like you to pursue, applying for X. So maybe the 65% were, like in that bucket. If I didn't answer the survey, but if I answered the survey, I probably would have been in that 65% because in my mind, I would have been waiting personally, for somebody to recognize something in me for the next level or the next challenge.
Yes, yes, yes. That is exactly what the research shows on this topic. Exactly. Women think that their performance will propel them
Mhm.
on its own pretty much. And they also tend to think I'll raise my hand when I'm 85 to 90% sure I know how to do that job. And the man sitting next to her will raise his hand if he's 50% sure
Mhm.
every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it is a marked difference, and I think it's cultural. I'm not exactly sure. There's got to be some other pieces to that, and I think there's a lot of interesting conversation to have with women and among women about this. But as I work with women younger in their career, I am starting to really talk a lot about this phenomenon, because you wake up 25 years into your career and realize I missed opportunities because I didn't know how to advocate for myself in the right way.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and I just want to just be mindful of our time, Stace. So I want to kind of keep rolling here. And Deb, I see your hand up. Can it hold?
Yep,
Can we do it at the end? Would that be okay?
sure.
Okay, awesome. Is that so? This is fabulous. I mean, this is just exactly what we were hoping to hear and understand, and really get even more depth in how we're interpreting. And so Stacie and I, as you might imagine, and I think everybody on the phone is, we are doers, we are creators, we are visionaries. And uh, I love this image. I use this image a lot in workshops and presentations that I do. And, Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And so, one of the things that we do as coaches is we really help people vision what it is that they want their life or their career or their just experiences. What is that vision that they want to create? Because again, kind of similar to what Stacie was just saying, we also get really caught in the day-to-day, right? Like we got to get the kids, and we got to take care of mom, and we got to just do all the daily stuff. And so we don't often just kind of take that step back to vision. And so we were just really inspired and really excited. And so this is the part where Stacie and I said, okay, well, we think that we could bring some support and some skills to this, and really offer something that we think is unique and meets women where they are. And we based it very much around all of this data and what we what we heard. And so what I want you to just, and this again, this may be for you. I also just want you to think here, if there are women in your circle that you think this might be relevant for. We're also just putting this out there in the big picture, right, on YouTube and out there in the community. So we wanted this to be broad. So I just want you to imagine, at whatever place you are in your life or in your career, being part of a community of women who unconditionally support you. And one of the many things that I do, many hats, is I'm a club leader for Speaker Sisterhood. And Speaker Sisterhood is a really powerful format for women to come together and practice and get confident in their speaking. And it is amazing what being part of a community and how powerful that kind of a venue and a circle and a interconnectedness, what difference that makes in terms of how you feel supported. And just imagine feeling, again, we want to stay with that word of confidence, feeling more confident, feeling more clear, feeling more focused on what's most important to you. And again, just that, how can we take that time and that creativity to just really imagine and vision forward of being purposeful in how we're leading our life and our team, and your company, if you're a business owner, your family, and most importantly, and I think this is really important for women. I also do a lot of work and coaching, training, and team building with women leaders in social service organizations. And the whole idea of we all in some ways are caring for other people, and even as a team leader, as a director, at whatever level, when you have that team, you are caring about your team. If you are a great leader, you are concerned for your team. And so what we put here is that we also want to make sure that we're reflecting that light back on ourselves. We're looking at the mirror and we're saying, okay, what is most important to me as I am leading in my life? And then how does that reflect out and ripple out to all of the different aspects of who I am and who I influence and who I support and who I connect with. And so, also just imagining being able to communicate openly, honestly, authentically. And again, it's so powerful. I'm hearing, Oprah and Reese Witherspoon and um, Selma, Hyatt, and just these women that are so out there in the world, and with Harvey Weinstein and all of that, just being able to really step into truth and authenticity, and not that it's not necessarily about those issues, but just in general being able to communicate, and I would say even a little bit fearlessly. Fearless is one of my guiding words for the year. So fearless and truth. And so then also just imagining if you were able to just effectively balance time for yourself and your family and your career, what might that look like? How might that feel? What would you need to really support that in happening? And Stace, do you want to add anything to these?
No, I think it's just this, it seems almost outlandish. I helped write the slide and I'm reading it going, that seems ridiculously crazy. But the truth is, it's because I think I'm conditioned to think, well, I'm not sure all of that can happen when you're working and being a mom and being a spouse and doing all these things. So I think, challenging even my own sort of automatic thoughts is part of this whole process of really starting to sort of vision what things could be and how it might feel different. So it's fun.
That's right.
I'm enjoying it as a participant right now.
Awesome. And so you ready? This is the drum roll, Stace, right? Ready?
Yeah.
So this is what we want to unveil, and so this is our big excitement, and we are very excited about it, actually. And when we started again thinking about what could we bring that would fit into women's lives and schedules and be meaningful and help them make these changes, whatever those are that they want to make. We called it the Women's Leadership Experience. And apparently we like acronyms. So TLS, Transformative Leadership Strategies, presents WLE, Women's Leadership Experience. So we had fun with that. And so the Women's Leadership Experience, and we were very specific about choosing the word experience. And not a program, but an experience. And so my background is in teaching and facilitating and training. And for me, always over the last 25 years, when I am facilitating a group of people, it's really about bringing that information or bringing the process together in a way that we said here multidimensional, but it's really about how do you bring in everybody's different experiences? How do you bring in all of the different ways that we all learn as adults, whether it's visual, whether it's auditory, whether it's putting your hands on and doing it, whether it's interacting with other women one-on-one in small groups, as a large group. And then also, we wanted to blend in, also being reflective and having some of that self-awareness and understanding of who we are and what's most important to us and our values and our needs, and have it be very engaging. There's nothing worse than doing something that you're not connected with or you don't feel good about. And so what we always want to do in anything that TLS provides is that we want everyone to feel engaged, to feel like they are in the right place at the right time. And the opportunity, we look at everything as an opportunity. And so what is the opportunity for you to take that next step or the next leap into what is your best self, and what does that mean to you? And it's always about the journey, right? This is everything that we talk about, and the experience is really how can we do this and how can we take this journey, and we're all on a journey. And so but and being more intentional about it, being more aware about it, and having support both from a group as well as from Stacie and I in how we have this as an experience, so an experience together, and at all levels of who we are and what's important to us. So Stacie, you want to talk about the components?
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because I think we've kind of touched on a lot of this through the conversation, but there are 4 components, I guess you could say about the women's leadership experience. So one is group coaching, which really is just the group work, right? Where we come together as a group of women, sharing, listening. Alicia and I are offering coaching support in a safe and respectful, confidential way, and really just creating the space that it allows for the ahas, right? Because anytime, in my experience, anytime you bring women together, ahas follow, because we are all very intuitive, and it's being around other intuitive people that often can really spark new insights for us and for how we think about our lives. So that sort of leads us to the community building piece, right? There's just this inherent connection that gets developed between women. I am actually a part of the Speaker Sisterhood group that Alicia mentioned, and well, there are many of them, but I'm part of one chapter. And I don't have any issues speaking in public typically at all, but what I have enjoyed about that more than anything is the community of women that has been created as women stand up in front of each other and tell their truth in different ways. It's just, it's a very humbling experience, and it's just very empowering at the same time. Along with the group piece, we are envisioning individual coaching. So this is really an opportunity to work with a coach one-on-one. I think as the insights come through the group experience, then there'll be motivation to put new skills into place or to try on new approaches for things. And sometimes having that individual coach support can be helpful. For anyone that's not had a coach in the past, I think the big difference between coaching and therapy is coaching really takes usually someone quite functional and really says, what would it mean to feel more optimal, right? And let me help you create that plan to sort of move in that direction. So the women's leadership experience would include that component. And then finally, we are envisioning a skill development component of this. We heard loud and clear that there are themes, there are issues that are impacting women. So if we could use this time together to focus on a given theme, to think about some skills that we might apply for ourselves to help us address however that might be impacting us. And then we just figure it out. And if we try something and it doesn't work, great, we try something else. But it's an opportunity to have, I call it a little bit of the didactic part of the learning experience along with the community kind of part of the learning experience.
That's
so those
right.
are the basic components.
And it's really that skill development is really, you know, whatever you're experiencing in the group process, whatever comes up in the one-on-one coaching that you want to focus on. You know, maybe it's about how you're communicating with your peers or how you're communicating with your team. You know, that we create an experience sheet. We're calling them experience sheets, which Stacie will talk about in a minute. But where you actually take what you're talking about and having an awareness about and literally applying it immediately, so that you're really it's completely hands-on in terms of your evolution of what where you're going and what's going on. That wasn't very clear, but anyway.
Yeah.
Stacie.
So just quickly, a little bit more on logistics, and then we'll talk about the different themes of the group. So obviously the participants are women. This is not because we don't think men need support, but the purpose of this exercise is to create a supportive environment for women. Both Alicia and I do work with men, and we do company work, corporate work with teams that have men. So we're not anti-man by any stretch, but this is really designed around women, and there is no expectation around role, industry, experience. We feel like we learned enough from our data to say that we're all really experiencing a shared experience a lot of the time. So we're envisioning creating a 3-month program that focuses around one specific theme. And Alicia is going to talk about those themes on the next page. But during each month, there would be 90 minutes of group coaching. So that's really the time commitment with the group. It's 90 minutes, and we'll talk a little bit about how we're thinking about scheduling that. We want it to be flexible so that we can accommodate people's schedules. We're sensitive to busy lives, busy work weeks, so we're thinking about some options there. as Alicia referenced, that we would envision having some kind of an experience sheet or exercise or next step that would be kind of a follow-on. Obviously, we're all grown-ups. You can choose to do it or not do it. No one's going to chastise you if you don't. But to the extent you're learning and experiencing things that you want to take forward and try to apply in your life to see if it works, to see if it matters, we'll give you the support through some of these experience sheets. And then in between all of that, there would be 30-minute coaching sessions where we can check in one-on-one to say, hey, how's it going? How are you feeling about this topic? What have you learned? Anything you want to talk about maybe before you bring it to the group? That type of thing. So we'll try to integrate both the group experience with some individual support. We're also we're working with our web lady right now, building a client portal so we can keep all the sessions will be recorded confidentially, but recorded. So if someone were to have to miss part or all of a session, they could access that through the portal and all of the materials surrounding that. I'm sure we'll talk about TED Talks. We'll talk about other online information that might be supporting whatever the topic is we're discussing. So we'll want to keep that resource area very rich and full. And then we also will want to create a private Facebook group, not just for this group, but for all of the women leadership experience groups. And over time, we hope there are many. We even envision having this expand so other coaches can offer this, so it's not just Alicia and I. This is really not, we are proud to be creators. We do not feel like we have to be the sole owners. I think we really want to see this grow and really create a community of women all across the country or even the world, I suppose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the one thing that I meant to say when we first started talking about this, Stace, which is, we're sharing this with you. And part of this is we want your feedback in terms of, does this sound like something that would be meaningful and helpful? And, are we hitting on the things that are most important? So just also be thinking about that, because we'll finish up this part in a few minutes and then just open it up to comments and questions. And so what are the program themes? So this is where we just had a lot of fun. We got really creative, and we took those top themes, the top percentage themes, and said, okay, let's make the first group the unstoppable power of confidence, creating success from the inside out. And so that first 3-month experience will be all about exploring what is confidence? What does confidence mean to you? What are, we're going to look at other resources. I mean, I heard a woman who wrote a book, and she was talking about, I can't remember her name right now, but she was talking about the definition of confidence was when you're living in the world and you're aligning your values. And I'd never heard a definition like that. And so we're all going to have different definitions of what confidence means. And for us as coaches, Stacie and I talk a lot about how we create ourselves or our leadership or who we are. We're creating success from the inside out, which means, we want to understand the kinds of things that we're thinking about and the kinds of habits that we've gotten into that are either supportive or not supportive, or the things that we expect of ourselves or others, and what happens when we meet or don't meet those expectations, and how does that impact our confidence. And so that's program number 1, that theme, that first experience, the unstoppable power of confidence. The second theme, so the second 3-month experience will be called the flow of balance, demystifying the having it all syndrome. And again, with this one, balance is not static, and I think that is one of the biggest myths out there around balance. And I like to think of balance as flow of our energy, flow of how we're traversing through our time and our day, flow of where we're feeling we need to give the most attention, and the demystifying the having it all syndrome. And Stacie, actually, you want to speak to just this one piece, because that was something that you really added that I think is really valuable.
Well, in my career, I had the opportunity to lead a lot of teams and mentor and even sponsor, women who were younger in their careers or newer in their careers. And there always seemed to be this sense from them that there was like a right answer, and everyone else seemed to figure it out, but they couldn't, right? And they were always feeling off balance. Like I'm making a decision to work, but I should be making a decision to stay home. Or I'm making a decision to work and I'm missing the play, and I'm working because I have to, or I feel like it's the right thing to do, but I'm feeling guilty. And there's this idea that there's a perfect place, but I'm not there. And it's really troublesome for women, I think. And I was just looking at Facebook, and a friend of mine on Facebook was sort of out loud on Facebook feeling guilty about staying home and not working, right? There's just this sense that we're never in balance. We're never doing the right thing. So I think if we can talk a little bit about what that means and what the right thing really is for us, which obviously is going to vary for all of us, and maybe it doesn't even exist exactly. I think that's what we want to get at with this one.
Absolutely. And then the third one, we're calling it You Be You, recognizing the impact of authentic leadership. And again, the idea behind that is when you are yourself and you're just showing up as you, how can you be the strongest, the most authentic, the most real, the most vulnerable, the most courageous, the most fearless, whatever you being you means, and just really understanding and recognizing and exploring when we're in that authentic self and who we are, and we're not trying to play in a role or meet someone else's expectations necessarily, but we're setting that bar for ourselves of who we want to be and how we want to show up. That it is really powerful. And so we want to explore that with the group. And so we also imagine that we're going to have future themes we actually have 4 other themes from the data that we could continue on with. And I'm sure that as we move forward, we're also going to get lots of input from our members and our participants. And so, Stace, I'm mindful that we've got a couple minutes to finish up. So you want to just kind of.
Yeah.
We'll follow all of this up with we'll send you the PowerPoint deck and all of that. So
yeah, and we can stay on. I mean, I know I can stay on.
Yeah, I can too, but
conversation they want to, but I do want to be mindful. So just so you have a sense of a little bit more of how it works, the group size, we're thinking maximum of 12. We could envision maybe as few as 7 or 8, and then 12 somewhere in that range. Location won't matter, and as I mentioned, we'll be recording, obviously with everyone's knowledge and permission for easy access. Right now, our thoughts are we'll pick Wednesdays, just because Mondays and Fridays tend to be days that people are off if they are going to be off. We picked monthly dates for the 3. We did them consecutively. So for anyone that wanted to participate in all 3, they could start at the beginning, but there's no requirement. You could pick and choose if one resonates more than another. And what we sort of envisioned was that we would pick 3 different time slots, and as the group forms, sort of just take the vote of the group in terms of what the best timing is. We ruled out mornings. I am a mom of 4 kids, so mornings are crazy in my house. Not that the other times aren't, but I just think trying to get people out the door can be pretty challenging. So we sort of decided to focus around lunch, right after work, or as work is ending, and then evening hours. And so again, that'll be determined by the group.
That's right. And so just in terms of, how are we pricing this? What's the investment? So we've got the time, you've got the logistics. And so again, this is where we're beginning, and we certainly want feedback on this. So we're talking about, we wanted to make this affordable. We wanted to make it as accessible as possible. And we're talking about this as our special launch pricing. So this is what we want to do for all 3 of these themes and these series. And so we have 3 options. It's $195 a month over 3 months. And so that's including everything that Stacie talked about before, the group coaching sessions, the 3 group 90-minute group coaching sessions, the 3 30-minute individual sessions, the experience sheets, everything in between, all of the support, emails back and forth with us, and pretty much I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things that we're going to add into this as we hear from women the resources that they want and need, and we build out that portal. So that's really our vision, is to make this very resource rich. And so 195 a month, or if you wanted to do an upfront payment for one of the 3-month programs, it would be $495, and that would be a savings from the if you're paying by month. And then, we thought, well, we might really want to we're hoping that we have some really excited early adopters who want to just go on this whole journey and whole experience with us from beginning to end. And so we put together this offering of pay in full for all 3 programs over these 9 months, with even more of a savings to do that pay in full piece of $15.95. And so I want to just pause. Well, actually, let's just go to the next slide, which is basically how do you or how does anyone join? I guess we kind of made an assumption there, Stace, which was not our intention. Is right now we're building out our technology and our processes and all of that, so we have nothing fancy yet. Coming soon.
Yeah.
But right now, email us, call us if you're interested, or know of anybody that's interested. And I actually just want to pause here. We want to wrap up, and I also just want to open this up to questions and comments and thoughts about our solution, about what you heard in terms of what the experiences are, about the pricing, about anything. We just, we welcome your comments briefly now, and then we would absolutely, if you have more that you want to share, would love to talk with anyone one-on-one. So anyone have any thoughts, questions, or comments? So Deb, what do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the order of the themes is so smart. It's powerful. I mean, to start with the unstoppable power of confidence. I love the unstoppable, because really that's really what you want. I'm thinking about right now taking on, all of a sudden being thrust back into a full-time challenging, and to sort of the stop, like, okay, got it together, take a moment to regroup. You can get burned out within a 15-minute time period, but if you have that inner confidence, if you have learned to focus on a few core skills, can carry you through experiences in the workplace or in other leadership roles that can really be sustaining. And I like that from the inside out. So it's all inside work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you love that word, Deb, unstoppable, because I mean, that's really what it feels like. It just really, when you're able to tap into that inner power, right? It almost feels like you can just keep going, and you're believing in yourself, you're believing in what matters to you, you're moving things forward, and it kind of sort of does feel unstoppable. So, and that's really what we want to. And
I just wanted to quickly touch on the other two, just the thoughts I had about it, the flow of balance. I love the idea of the flow of balance, that balance is not static, that if we think, okay, we're going to figure out some solution so that we have got just the perfect thing, when everything is coming at us, and we do, it is a flow in so many respects. Our lives are there's a flow going that we want to be in sync with, and the idea that there's no perfect place. I sort of connected it with the third theme. The notes I wrote was, there's no perfect place, there's no right answer, and immediately what I wrote was like connected to the support group. So what I've been focusing on recently is this authenticity. It's been coming up in a lot of the wellness work that I've been doing. which is so powerful to be able to say, you know, where I am, who I am, touching base with that and being okay with that. That truth is so powerful. And so I love, and so that led right into the UBU, authentic leadership. So it makes perfect sense to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deb. And you know, I'm so happy that they resonate with you. That's fabulous feedback. I so appreciate that. And I will love to talk to you more about it, because I know you're doing amazing things right now. So let's just wrap it up, because I just want to be, I realize we're already a few minutes over. So, and again, Stacie and I can stay on, but just so that everybody can jump off if they want to. So, so Stacie, you want to just talk about our vision? And, you know, we try to practice what we preach.
Yeah, we touched on this throughout this, I think, but I hope you have a sense that this is the beginning of something that we hope will be bigger than we are. We don't have pride of authorship in that these are not issues that we discovered, that we're trying to solve, that we're just doing this all by ourselves and kind of for ourselves, that we really see this as a way to participate in and contribute to and learn from the community where we all operate, which is in this world of amazing women. So as we see this growing, we could envision lunch and learn sessions coming out of some of what we're talking about in the group. Some of those experience sheets might really lend themselves to modification and sharing. You could use it with teams potentially. So we could see that sort of growing. You know, if we have people in certain locations, we thought happy hours would be fun. Maybe someday companies would say, look, we think this is a great way to provide support for women. We'd like to create one of these groups that's just going to be Aetna employees or Cigna employees, right? And let's have groups of women that come together and they have support of a coach. The pricing is reasonable, and you know, let's do that. And then over time, conferences, seminars, retreats. Like I feel like there's no real limit other than our own imagination. And I was going to say resource, but then I thought no, because there are plenty of coaches, right? Alicia and I do not have to do all of this. So there are plenty of people who have these same goals and visions for their careers and their lives. So whatever this group can dream together, I think we'll be able to do. So we're super excited that you guys picked us to spend an hour.
Uh-oh, Stace. Uh-oh. Wait, you there?
With today and
Crap. Okay, wait a minute.
Are you there?
Are people still with us?
Can anyone hear me? Oh, we made it the
I
whole
am.
hour.
Hang on.
I think
hang on.
you're back. You froze, Alicia, but I think you're
I know.
back.
I think we're back now, right?
Yep.
All right. Sorry about that, folks.
Okay.
So yeah. So let's just. I want to just finish up. I want to just go back to this last slide. And so, Stace, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just me that didn't hear that last piece, but I just wanted to just say one other thing, is that we are all about collaboration. And the speaker sisterhood that I've referred to, Angela Lucier, who's the CEO and founder of that, one of her visions for her company is that she wants to create a retreat center for women and have that be on 100 acres of land in some beautiful place. And, you know, so Stacie and I have a value of collaborating, and we want to do that with other coaches, with other organizations, whatever that, when it feels right and it aligns, then we want to do that and dream it together, as she said. And again, we just want to thank you, and from our hearts, and for sharing the time, and for your comments. And you know, we'll happy to stay on for however long, and thank you for joining us. And if you need to jump off, we totally get that. And you know, reach out to us, email us, and we will keep you in the loop on things as they progress. We just launched our YouTube channel. Well, we didn't completely launch our YouTube channel this morning, but it's almost launched. So we'll keep you in the loop about that too. So so feel free. Anybody want to ask any questions or stay on, and otherwise we will finish for today.
Okay.
And feel free if you need to jump off, jump right off.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump off.
Bye, Deb.
Thanks,
Nice
Deb.
to meet you.
Nice to
All right,
have
thank
you,
you
hon.
so much.
You
Bye-bye.
bet. Bye-bye.
Not sure how to jump off, but oh, here, I got it. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Connie, and I'm going to jump too, but I think I just have one question. So as I was going through the presentation with you all, I've come up with about 3 names of individuals who I think might benefit from this involvement in this community. So would I just forward on to them the information that I have by being a part of it? And then, if they have any questions, they can certainly call me, or just to kind of connect them with both you, Stacie, and Alicia. How should I do that?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll get this slide deck out to everyone who registered for this, and I think we'll also send it
You're kind of breaking up,
I
Stace.
know.
the women who completed the survey. So both of those communities will get it. And we would absolutely, you think might be, yeah, sorry, we've had internet issues this morning. Yes, Connie, we'll information with anyone you think might be benefited by it.
Perfect. That's
We
what I'll
will.
do.
Yeah, we'll follow up with everyone, and if there's some information that you need that we haven't given you, just let us know, and we'll
Okay.
make sure you get it.
Okay. Thank you for a very nice hour and 15 minutes. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Connie.
So,
Uh-huh.
Connie,
Bye-bye.
talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Brenda.
Hi, so I just wanted to say I'm sorry I was late. And of course, I'm sure you know I'm really interested in the results, which I missed. So I would love to see the slide deck and see what the results were.
You bet. You bet. I will, we'll put it on. We'll get it. I will absolutely get it to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love the way you did the paging in the slideshow. That was nice.
Awesome.
That's the transition queen right there.
I love it. That was nice. So thank
Yeah,
you.
if it had been me, it would have been click, 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 click. So
You got to have fun, Brenda. You got to have fun.
I know. It's awesome. Great.
Thanks, hon.
Well,
Thanks
congratulations.
for joining us.
Look forward to seeing it.
All right. We'll send it out probably later today.
Great.
Thanks,
All right.
Brenda. Bye. All right. So I am going to stop the recording.